Thanks to Blade HQ for making today's knife review awesomer.
So as I've shown, the Kershaw Piston stacks up pretty favorably against some more expensive competition. It's an excellent knife for a very good price. And also, if I'm not mistaken, USA made. Hello my friends, Late Boy Scout here with my review of the Kershaw Piston. Try not to get distracted by the gloves, it's cold where I'm doing this review. During the course of this review, we'll be comparing and contrasting the Piston with many other very cool knives, so stick around for that, it's going to be fun. But before we begin that, let's talk about the Piston, which is an excellent offering from Kershaw. Look at this, it's 4-way repositionable pocket clip. And it's a very nice looking pocket clip too, not one of their standard ones. This seems to be something designed just for the Piston, or maybe it's just on very few other Kershaw knives that I've seen. Whatever the case, it looks like you're going to get a very deep carry no matter which way you carry it. Look at that, very little sticking out of your pocket. If you were to carry it this way, you're probably going to have, not including the blade of course, you're probably going to have around that much sticking out of your pocket. So, a fairly deep carry pocket knife, no matter which way you decide to set it up. That's really cool. Really, really cool. And looks like some great ergonomics on this knife as well. With a great little, what do you call that, sort of a shoulder going on for you to wrap your hand around, and a little, indent going on there. And just a really nicely designed, great looking knife. Wouldn't you agree? I really like the look of it. And of course, look at these little sweeps that they've got going through the G10. That is so cool. Obviously, they sort of ground out the G10, create a little texturing in there for your hand to grip into, but then they sort of smooth that out in these little sweeps that you see right here. Okay, so they ground those away again. So, I mean, we're talking about some machining that took a little extra time and adds a little bit of price, but some extreme cool as well. I really like it. And let's look at that back strap right there, also pretty good looking. Looks like probably a FRN type material, fiberglass reinforced nylon, something like that. And what you probably don't see anywhere on here, if you're looking for the lanyard hole, it has one. This is it right here. So you actually kind of stick your lanyard through there, through that little loop. You can see that there's a little indentation, and then that bar right there within the G10 handle scales. They're actually handles, pieces of handle, not scales. But you would slip it through there to create your lanyard. So unusual, but very, very cool. We don't see that on a lot of other knives. We usually see just a great big hole in the bottom of your knife, right? That allows you to put some sort of lanyard. But this is really cool. I mean, it's really at the bottom of the knife. That's very, very, very cool. So we've talked about some of the cool features. Let's talk about that excellent blade shape. My word, that is beautiful. Beautiful because of how classic looking it is, right? Just an excellent sweep. Slight drop point to it, a little swedge cut out there. Yeah, we can talk about all that, and it's very nicely finished with a sort of a stone ground or bead blasted look to it. Very, very nice. But that shape is just so classic, so classic, almost a skinning sort of a blade, look to it. Anyway, excellent blade shape. And also, it comes in at like, 3.5 inches. That's a generous amount of blade, especially for a knife as lightweight as this. And I'm sorry that I don't have the actual weight information from Kershaw, but this has got to be, I don't know, sub 3.5 ounces. That's how light it feels. I mean, if we were to contrast and compare that to something like, oh, what have I got? How about this? No, not that one. Sorry, taking a little time here. How about the Spyderco Tenacious, a very popular, well-known knife? This knife feels heavier than the Piston. Not by a lot, but it does feel a little bit heavier. So we're talking about definitely sub 4, probably sub 3.5 ounces on the Kershaw Piston. And that's just an excellent weight for such a big knife. Again, 3.5 inches. Excellent knife. And overall length comes in at about 8.5. So a lot of knife for not a lot of weight. And one of the ways they accomplish that, I mentioned this before, is by having these G10 handles. Okay? The handles are all G10. Look Look at that, no liner whatsoever. Yeah, you see something there, obviously creating a semi-liner lock. That's an inset liner lock. That's what Kershaw calls it anyway. So it's not really a liner because you can see that it is embedded within that G10 only up to that point right there. And then the rest of the way down, that handle is pure G10. So knives like, I don't know, some of the Voyager series, not Voyager, sorry, but the Recon 1 series from Cold Steel were some of the first ones I saw sort of trying that out, trying a handle made of entirely G10. But I think other people are starting to pick up on it. Other knife makers are starting to realize, you know what, that works. We can do that, and it's not going to make the knife any weaker or less usable. So I'm really excited to see that Kershaw has caught that bug and decided to try something like that here with the piston. And it also maintains a nice, relatively thin profile. So again, adding to the carryability of it. And I've said that before. I really feel like a thin knife is so much easier to carry than a big chunky one. You know, there are kind of levels of chunkiness and levels of thinness. Here, the Delica 4, sorry, not Delica, this is the Endura 4 compared to the piston there, and basically the same width. Equally carryable knives, and very, very similar in size. Only that the, looks like the Spyderco is a bit longer, but otherwise very, very carryable. Very, very comparable in carryableness, I should say. My point is, I've said before that thinness with a knife really adds to its carryability, and the Kershaw piston is doing great in that department. So I think we've addressed everything I really want to address about this knife, which I think is just an outstanding new offering from Kershaw, except maybe the steel, which is 14C28N. Same as what you get on your Kershaw Leak. Also the same as, oh, here's the, the Zing, also by Kershaw. I can get that out with these kind of slick gloves. Sorry about that. The Zing, also by Kershaw, I think is also that 14C28N, or maybe a semi-related steel, if I'm mistaken on that. Whatever the case, good steel. I've had great experience with it on the Leak in the past, and I expect to have great experience with it on this piston. Excellent steel, really like it. So no complaints there. The liner itself, or that sort of inset liner, could use a little texturing perhaps, but it does pretty well. I didn't also mention that it is speed safe. Speed is assisted, so that means you got a little spring tension in it when you get to about this point as you're closing it. Okay, not a big problem as you're closing it. I don't really mind that at all. And the thumb studs, I'll address those really quickly because they really have that same design to them that the Zing has. Okay, you can see that it's sort of one bevel going on there with a little bit of terracing. It's a pretty good thumb stud. I don't know. I think I probably prefer the more standard looking thumb stud. This one here from the Benchmade 710. I think I prefer that over this sloped one, but it still works. Personally, I find that this one is still, even so, easier to deploy by way of the flipper. And that's the way I would, recommend doing it most often. Now, I think I've addressed pretty much everything I wanted to address about this knife. Excellent design, really like what they've done here, and let's stack it up against a few other also very good knives. I showed you this one already, the Spyderco Endura. That's the ZDP 189 version of it, Endura 4. And how about that McHenry & Williams, the Benchmade 710? Also a large but excellent offering from our friends over there at Benchmade. While we're at it, let's go ahead and get this one out too. That's the Benchmade 943. That's a Warren Osborne design. And we'll go ahead and stack it up next to, right next to the piston. Yet smaller, but whatever. Still sort of in the same usefulness range, I would say. Large-ish. And then, how about the Spyderco Paramilitary 2, while we're at it. Really similar, I think, in size and usefulness, those two knives. I think we'll probably leave it at that for comparisons. There's plenty of other ones I could pull out. Maybe just one last one. How about this one? This is, of course, the Ken Onion designed CRKT Foresight. big, chunky knife, but, you know, really kind of close in size and usability to that piston. Pretty close, pretty close. Definitely a lot heavier, though. That CRKT knife is somewhere in the 6.5, 7 ounce range, where this, I told you before, I think is close to like 3.5. So a big, you know, this is just a smattering of what's out there. There's a huge amount of knives, very much in the same class and size range as that piston. Also price range, we'll just go down really quickly. 80-ish, 120-ish, 140-ish, 90-ish, 160-ish, and maybe 60 or so, 50 or 60. Most affordable one on the table there. How about that? And also a very, very great offering from Kershaw. So as I've shown, the Kershaw Piston stacks up pretty favorably against some more expensive competition. It's an excellent knife for a very good price. And also, if I'm not mistaken, USA made, which many other knives in the same size category cannot claim. All those ones I showed you on the table, I believe, were USA made. But again, they are much higher priced. So keep it in the US, keep it high quality, keep it with Kershaw, with the Kershaw Piston. A great knife for a good price. I'm Late Boy Scout. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.